to Receiving Nur Weekly Quran Study. We are excited to continue our Quran study, weekly Quran study tonight with again Surah al-Sajdah and again with Dr. Yamina. You're welcome to join in with your comments and questions. We get private feedback about how this study has been beneficial, and please feel free to share anything particular or specific that is resonating with you, or you want to comment on, or share with others. I think it will be nice for everyone to share with each other, inshallah. And so without further delay, I turn to Dr. Yamina to lead us in tonight's session. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, Yamina.
Thank you, Isra. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So last week, if you remember, we stopped at ayah 22, and inshallah we'll start from ayah 23. And in ayah 23 and 24, we are told, sorry, astaghfirullah, and indeed we gave Moses the book, so do not be in doubt regarding the meeting with him, or the meeting with it, I think. And we made it, meaning the book, guidance for the children of Israel. 24, and we appointed among them leaders who guided by our command, so long as they were patient and were certain of our ayat, our signs. I'll read 25, 26, 27, just to get an idea of what's going on. So we told in 25, truly it is your Rabb, your sustainer, who will distinguish between them on the day of resurrection regarding what they used to differ. Does it not serve as guidance for them how many generations we have destroyed before them, amidst whose dwellings they walk? Truly in that there are signs, ayat. Do they not listen? And in 27, aren't they aware, which is literally alam yarau, don't they see, haven't they seen, that it is we here, God, who drive the rain to barren land and thereby bring forth vegetation from which their cattle and they themselves eat. Do they not see? So in 26, we are told, do they not listen? And here, do they not see? So back to 23. In ayah 23, we are told that certainly we gave Atayna Musa al-Kitaba, the book, to Moses. So be not in doubt regarding the meeting with it, and we made it guidance for the children of Israel. So the example, I think we did talk a little bit about this last week, if I'm not mistaken. The example given is that of Musa alayhi salam, because his people acknowledged him, although they acknowledged him as a messenger of God, they did not follow the guidance. They did not always follow the guidance that was sent down to them with Musa alayhi salam. So in many ways, the people of Musa have parallels with the followers of Muhammad alayhi salam. Peace and blessings be upon him. Because they follow the law, the Sharia that Musa alayhi salam brought from God, but often they forget about the true spirit, the true goal, the true purpose of the law, which is to worship God alone, to remind them to worship God alone, to nurture that mindfulness, being in the presence of God, knowing him, and expecting and seeking help from him, and therefore, as a result, not being greedy or feeling the need to be powerful in order to secure their peace, for instance. So the goal of the Sharia, of the divine law, is to establish justice and peace and mercy in the world. to make known God known. And it's similar with Muslims. Many Muslims may claim, they may even think they are following the Sharia, but they remain unaware of the spirit of Rahmah, which is the spirit of the Sharia. It is there to nurture Rahmah within us and without us. It means, and within the human being and within the society, within the world. And sometimes people get so stuck and focused on the doing, on the law itself. It's not divine law anymore because you're focused on the appearance and not on the spirit, that they end up perpetuating oppression and injustice in the name of the divine law of Rahmah, subhanallah. I mean, ego can feed on anything. So this ayah also reminds us to be patient, especially that is clearly spelled out in ayah 24, and not to be shaken or detracted by the majority. Remember, so far we've been told about the two groups, the true believers and the others who claim to be believers. Maybe they think they are believers, but they are not truly believers because they are still committing shirk. They are still not certain of many things. And they were called fasiq. They were called the guilty, al-mujrimin, or al-mujrimun. It depends on where it's used in the sentence. And sorry. And we were told that the majority of people were not true believers. And that, I think some of us felt like this is scary. But from one perspective, it is scary. But from another perspective, it is rahmah, because we are told that this is the case in the society, in the world, but it's also the case within ourselves, that we have a tendency to lean towards shirk, not because shirk is, how do you say, like more attractive, but because it's like failing a class. It's not because it's attractive, it's because it doesn't need any effort. And outwardly it doesn't need any effort to fail a class, but actually while we are not doing what we are supposed to do to pass the class, if we care, what's going on inside is harder than the outer ease. It looks like from outside, one person is doing their assignments and working and studying. The other one is doing nothing and going around. So which is easier? It looks like it's the second one. But in fact, even while doing nothing, that person inside is bearing a heavier burden, because there is that nagging inside. I shouldn't be here. I should be doing that. And that comes all out when they tell him, you failed. You failed the class. And if you want to carry on in this path, you just have to take it again. So the situation is similar here. It's just because it seems easier, so we tend to walk that path. It doesn't mean it is an easy path, actually. For the soul, it is not an easy path. It's a path of hardship, inner hardship. So we were told that in matters of true beliefs, most people are mushriks. And so here, this is a reminder to be patient and not to be shaken or detracted by the majority of the people who are at some level or another mushrik. Just because the majority is doing it does not mean it is right. It is not the criteria for what is right. And if you remember in Surah Yusuf, Surah Yusuf is Surah 12, in Ayah 106, we told, and most of the people do not believe in God without committing shirk, without associating partners with him. Literally, it's without being mushrik. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُم مُشْرِكُونَ. When they believe in God, they only believe as mushriks. This is true for most people, we are told. Except those who are patient and are certain of God's signs, God's ayat. In ayah 24, we are told, and we appointed among them, among the children of Israel, among the people of Musa alayhi salam, we appointed leaders who guided by our command as long as they were patient and were certain of our signs. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. So they have yaqeen in our ayah. You see again and again this ayah is something extremely important in the Quran. So to understand what ayah is and to learn to interact with the world as ayat. When we understand what it is and how to recognize things as ayat, and then we have to practice it, that's when true belief is going to be given to us. That's when we are going to be able to perform truly the shahada, because we will be actually witnessing, and we will be able to testify. And that's when we know God truly, as he describes himself with beautiful names. And it's only when we know God truly that we can trust him. And we know God truly when we know him through his creation, through his ayat, when we witness the events in the creation as ayat. What does it mean? It means we are aware that they are not created haphazardly. Things are not just happening to me. Things are befalling us with purpose, with meaning, with rahmah, and the purpose is not only some transient worldly purpose, but it has aspects that looks to this world, but more importantly, it has many aspects that look to the beautiful names of God, that look, and therefore to akhirah, to eternal life. And so things become, we start living from a totally different, I don't know how to say, like dimension, totally different perspective. And it becomes easier then to be patient, because we know the meaning of things. So the requirement here for being in ayah 24, we are told that the requirement for being appointed as leader who guide unto God, these leaders are guided and they guide unto God, unto the truth. That's what it means to guide unto God, unto the truth. The required qualities are certainty in the signs of God, patience, and in Arabic, wa can have many meanings because of their certainty in the signs of God. We can read it that way too. So here we have to note that they are appointed by divine command. They don't appoint themselves. They are not leaders because they acquired power or they worked very hard for leadership or they campaigned and convinced people, or they fought for it and oppressed others and then dominated them. It's not that kind of leadership. Here they are leaders that guide to God, not leaders that dominate others. They serve humanity. They help people fulfill the purpose of their creation. And this reminds me of the case of Yusuf alayhi salam. If you remember, he was also appointed. So Yusuf alayhi salam never forced the conditions in order to become a ruler. He never bargained for that position. He never compromised his integrity or the truth of his message or anything. He found himself there. In Surah Yusuf, which is Surah 12, it's probably the first surah that we studied together, and it's a long surah. And we read it as a story, the story of Yusuf. It's the only story of a prophet that is told all at once from beginning to end in one single surah. And we read it as a story of ihsan, how to live with ihsan. So in Surah Yusuf, the king has a dream. No one can interpret the dream, but Yusuf alayhi salam does. And then in Ayah 54, we are told, and the king said, bring him to me, bring Yusuf alayhi salam to me. I will select him exclusively for my own service. So when he, Yusuf, spoke to him, the king said, you are now one of established position. It means we give you this position, fully trusted by us. But then God says in Ayah 56, and thus we established. And the king says, إِنَّكَ الْيَوْمَ لَدَيْنَا مَكِينٌ. And God says, وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا, using the same, using a verb with the same, derived from the same root. So the king thinks he appointed, outwardly, he's the one who appointed him. But right after, we are told, no, God says, we established him. Means, don't forget, keep track of the event as they are truly happening. It means through their vertical connections. Don't get lost in the horizontal sequence, because yes, there is a sequence, there is an order, but one event is not causing the other. They are just happening one after the other. Look at the cause vertically. And so we are told, and we establish Yusuf securely in the land so that he had full mastery over it, doing whatever he willed. We bestowed favor out of our mercy on whomsoever we will, and we do not fail to requite the doers, the muhsinin, the muhsins. And we can confirm that indeed it is God who established Yusuf alayhi salam in his position, although apparently it's the king who decided to appoint him. How can we confirm that? Throughout the story, we can see the divine will at work. The king's dream is beyond the king's will and choice. And the dream is related to something that's going to happen in the future. Yusuf alayhi salam being inspired with the interpretation of the dream. Before, he could not even understand his own dream, but now he's inspired with the meaning of this dream. And the dream is connected with future climate changes, and that there will be a drought and famine, 7 years of plenty of abundance, and then 7 years of drought and famine. So all these things, none of them has control over them. So clearly, the only one who has control over the earth, over the climate, especially the climate and the 14 years of prophecy, can only be the creator, the maker, can only be God. And he is the only one who could fulfill the dream that was already happening, and he made them have some glimpses of what was going to happen, to also as a means to show his rahmah for the people of the region. Yusuf alayhi salam was used as a means of compassion and rahmah to store the food for the years of need. So we understand that the prophets, or the messengers of God, and their followers, because they came here to teach something, they are teachers, and those who follow in their steps, those who follow their teachings and live by that guidance, which is divine guidance, because the prophets are appointed by divine command. Those people, the true believers, the true followers, the muhsins, those are the muhsins, they are leaders in ubudiyah. They are ibad, they are ahead in being abd. So being abd is not dominating or oppressing others. They are aware that being abd, ubudiyah, is their most important goal in life. It's actually the most important goal of every human being, except that they are more aware of it than the others. And accordingly, everything else follows. They prioritize, or they perceive whatever they do in their choices, and everything is within this framework of ubudiyah, being abd, being aware that they are totally dependent on their Rabb, and therefore being aware of their need for being guided every day in everything. So they, knowing this, they don't compromise their integrity or what they believe in for the sake of leadership, for instance, or power or anything. That's what it means that they are appointed by God's command. I am saying this because there are political readings where you say, okay, you see, leaders, it's like Yusuf alayhi salam, he was a leader in an unbelieving system with the pharaohs. Yes, but he did not seek it. It was given to him. He put the conditions. They didn't put conditions on him. As soon as he was offered the position, he said, these are my conditions. He didn't say, oh, yes, please, and start compromising. Because it is God who guides them and protects them. They know that God is guiding them. He protects them. As long as they are, we are told, as long as they are patient, perseverant, steadfast, and certain of the signs of God in the scripture and in the creation. As it is shown in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, the signs, the ayat, are in the scripture as well as in the creation, as we are repeatedly told in the Quran. So you see again, this ayah and being certain of the ayat is key to certainty, to belief, to iman, and there is no ihsan without iman. So remember in week 4, 5, I think, when we studied, at least when we studied ayah 4 and 5 of Surah al-Sajdah, we discussed the relationship between khalq, the process of creating, of creation, and amr, the divine command, like be and it is, and how they were related to the creation of human being and the soul being breathed within us. I'm not going to go there, but like the divine command is very important. And so when we hear command, divine command, it is always related to something that is going to manifest in the world. We told in Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, in ayah 110, when the messengers despaired, meaning despaired of their people, and thought that they were deemed liars, suddenly our help came onto them, onto the messengers, and whosoever we willed was saved, and our might shall not be turned back from the guilty people. ولا يرد بأسنا, sorry, it is مجهول, so ولا يرد بأسنا عن القوم المجرمين, and the same word is used, the guilty, the criminal, المجرمين. So they are, the prophets and their followers are so patient until it gets like, it feels like no help is coming and they almost fall into despair, then help comes. But they don't give up, they persevere because they have certainty. They are patient and they are certain of our ayat. So these ayat 23 and 24 are also an invitation to believe in the book, because we are told, look, Musa alayhi salam was also given the book, and look, with that book, this is what happened. We made them leaders that guided people. And this reminds us of the very beginning of this surah. Remember how this surah started with Alif Lam Mim, descending down of the book, without a doubt, is from the Rabbul Alameen, the sustainer of all the worlds. Or do they say he has fabricated it? Nay, it is the truth from your Rabb, that you may warn a people for whom no warner has come before you, so that they may be guided. And right after this is until ayah 3. Right after this, in ayah 4, remember, we were told who this Rabb is. He creates the heavens, the earth, this, that. Who our Rabb is again described was described to us through his creating, through his creation. So here we got back to the beginning, that do not have doubt in the book. This book, God speaking to human beings, God sending his guidance, and do not have any doubt in it. Now, if we think that the book is the Quran, the Torah, whatever the prophets got, full stop, nothing else, then how can I have no doubt in it? And it says, look at them, like look at Musa alayhi salam, because here Musa alayhi salam is someone who prevailed. Like it's good news for the true believers that truth and righteousness prevail. Musa alayhi salam prevailed against Pharaoh. Pharaoh was like the symbol of might in his time. So usually people think that might is right, and this showed that no, right is might, because God is al-Haq. God is with them. So if they are certain of the signs and follow the signs, they will be helped and guided. So if we believe the book is only the book, like the pages or only the recitation, then there is no way I can be sure. But because as Muslims, we are taught from the beginning to confirm. Whenever we are taught since childhood, when you recite the Quran, at the end you say, Sadaqallahu al-Azim. It means God the greatest says the truth. How do I know that he's saying the truth? Because, like in Surah al-Sajdah, as soon as we are told the disbelievers, actually they are not truly disbelievers, they are half believers, they are not true believers. They think they are believers, but they are not true believers. So they are not sure about the message that is coming with the Prophet ﷺ. And as we said many times before, it could be that some people are rejecting, some people are saying, okay, maybe. Some people are saying, yes, the Quran, our sacred book, but not spending one day. They're not curious about what's in this book. So how is it sacred? How is it God's guidance to you if you don't know what's in it? So there are levels, but at the end of the day, the result is that they are not taking it seriously and living by that guidance. They're not feeling the need for that guidance. Now, in order to be able to truly say, Sadaqallah al-Azim, I do confirm that whatever God is saying is true, it is made easy in the Quran. Because look, after ayah 3 comes who God is. He's the one who creates this and this. Look at this, how it is created. All these are ayat, signs that He is the creator and nothing else. So we are taught how to interact with the world as ayat, as messenger bearing messages from beyond, from God. And those messages, when we start getting them, when we start interacting with them, they are the means for us to know who God truly is, and therefore that this message is truly from God, and that God communicates not only through scriptures, let's call them, between inverted commas, and through messengers, but also He's communicating all the time with us through His creation. He's communicating with us all the time through sustaining us in life. So all of them are different kinds of communication. They are all signs of God. They are all ayat. They are all God making himself known to us. So, and that is why certainty is so important. We started with the not true believer, like the untrue believers. I don't know how we'll call that group. Not being certain of the book, and then we are given the example here of Musa alayhi salam and his people, and what happened, and that what happened was because of their certainty in the ayat. Those who didn't have certainty are not included. The certainty in the ayat and patience. Once you have the certainty in the ayat, now you have to live accordingly, and that needs perseverance, that needs patience. So the believers prevail through their certainty and Iman. That's what Iman is, having certainty in God's ayat, and through patience and perseverance. And patience and perseverance towards possible afflictions, like Ayub alayhi salam, for instance. We are given different examples of different messengers of God, prophets, like Ayub alayhi salam. He was afflicted with sickness and other things, and he loses his wealth and his family. And Yusuf alayhi salam, for instance, he was sold in slavery. He lost his freedom partially, being sold in slavery, but he was still free walking around. And then he lost his freedom totally. He was put in jail. Can you imagine? Subhanallah. And we can think of many other afflictions. So we are told, even like the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, other prophets, Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, they faced slander, they faced abuse from their people. And remember, most people are not inclined to true belief, because true belief needs a good intention. It needs intention, and a good intention, an intention to follow what is right. Remember the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam? It's not like they didn't know. They knew, but they said, okay, this time we will get rid of him, and afterwards we will be good. So most people are like that. We make excuses for not following the divine guidance. Why? We were told in this surah that it was because of arrogance. Arrogance. Arrogance means not making peace, either not being aware of or not being aware of. I think is also because we do not want to recognize our total powerlessness, our total being in need of someone else's sustaining us. That's why we are not aware. It's not because it's something, it's like rocket science. It's very difficult to realize, to be aware of it. No. We don't forget many things in our life, but when it comes to this, even if we learn it, we keep forgetting it because we don't like it. Why do we not like it? Because of arrogance. It reminds us that we are created as humble creatures, as creatures totally dependent on the benevolence and the generosity and of their Rabb. But it's not only I exist and he gives me food. No. Even my life, my existence depends on him. So it is madness, it is foolishness to be arrogance in the sense of not accepting the fact, the reality, our fact. And that is, we were told in this surah, and it's repeated in many parts in the Quran, that's the root of the illness of not being a true believer. And that's why we find it hard to surrender, hard to remember. We have to make peace with that first. Work with that first. So here in ayah 24, what attracted my attention is this, they are patient, and because they are certain of our signs. So often we read or hear things like, we should be patient, or you should be patient, you shouldn't complain, you should. And to me, that's missing the point, because we can't start from the end result. We cannot force the result. If I still have arrogance, and therefore, if I have arrogance to that extent, I don't know my Rabb truly. And so how can I trust him? How can I be patient? So we need to start from the beginning, and the beginning is certainty in the ayat so that we can have iman. And certainty, in order to have certainty in the ayat, we have to let go of our arrogance. Because if there is arrogance, I cannot perceive things as they are when I am not perceiving myself as who I am truly are. And so this is the quality of true belief. The true belief is certainty of the ayat, that they are ayat of God. And that's iman, and ihsan will follow. And it is part of ihsan, patience and perseverance and steadfastness are qualities of the muhsin. Because the true believer is certain that whatever befalls him is from his merciful Rabb, and therefore it is meaningful. The true believer is certain that there is wisdom in whatever happens. And so when you know the meaning of that, everything is meaningful, that there is wisdom, and this wisdom looks to this world and to the next, and it is rahmah, and it is healing, and it is for my benefit, even if I don't know what's going on, because I can't know, because my knowing is so limited. I only know whatever I am made to know. Then it becomes easier to surrender. It becomes easier to surrender, and therefore to bear whatever is happening, especially in times we're talking especially about afflictions and hardships. So we need to encourage each other and remind each other to be patient but when we are true believers. What came to my mind is Surah Al-Asr, wal-Asr, إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. So it says wal-Asr, by the declining day, human being is in loss, except for those who believe. Whenever we see here believe, it means truly believe, not they think they believe, but actually they are mushrik. And do good deeds. They believe and act accordingly. And so they encourage one another to the truth and encourage one another to sabr, to steadfastness. But we can only do that when there is first iman and acting on that iman. If there is no iman, and if iman we're not acting on it, it means that iman is still only information. It has not transformed who we are and how we interact with the world, how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive the world. Then when we say be patient, it may seem like you don't understand me. This is very hard. Do you mean there is no hardship in the world? Do you mean this is easy? No, no one is saying it's easy, but it's easier when you know its meaning. It means there is a purpose. When you know, for instance, if I have an illness and someone brings me some medication that's very bitter and smells very nasty, but I am sure people who took it got healed. So it won't suddenly start tasting like chocolate or something, but I will take it happily, gratefully. I will take it again and again, however long it's needed, without complaining. I won't complain because I know that it has a purpose. So there is a huge difference between interacting with the world with certainty of Iman and without. And this reminded me of the question asked, I think last week, about hardship. So for the sake of clarity, there is hardship in the world that we all experience it. There's no question there, like hunger, illness, poverty, and you can think about other things. And there is our attitude towards what's going on in the world. Our attitude depends on how we perceive what's going in the world. Is it ayah or is it just happening? If we have the attitude of ihsan, then it can make hardship a means to fulfill our human potential, a means to fulfill our purpose in life and to grow spiritually, to grow closer to God. This is the attitude of ihsan. If there is an attitude of ghafla, and therefore ghafla is always comes with open or hidden shirk, then even good situations, whether good or bad, they are not the means, they are the means to forget our purpose in life. And actually maybe the good ones become worse because in the good ones we don't even remember to ask for help. We think it's my success. And in the bad ones, it depends. I may feel I failed and fall into despair, or I may ask for help. So there, it depends on which path I take. But can you see that when there is an attitude of ihsan, it is a win-win. There is ease, there is gratitude, and knowing God that's ayah. There is hardship, it is an ayah. There is gratitude, patience and gratitude, and knowing God better and getting ready for akhirah. When there is ghafla, it is a loss. In good times, we're more likely to forget. In bad times, we may fall in despair or we may ask for help. So actually, when we are in ghafla, hardship could be our means to go back to the straight path, to remember that we truly are not here to remain in this world forever, that whether it's hardship or goodness, nothing lasts. That also changes how we perceive things, because if something is not lasting, then even if it is hard, if it's not easy, the fact that it's not lasting is a reducing factor, especially if we live in the now, because usually it is we are complaining about the past and we are anxious about the future. But when you live in ihsan, that anxiety of the fear of the future is an ayah again, and it makes us, it is a means for us to seek help from God, to know Him as the one who is our Rabb, the one who takes care of us here and now in the future. And so I think someone mentioned an ayah. It's an ayah that we all know, especially the second one that comes after it. And we are told وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. So we shall certainly test you with fear and hunger and loss of property and lives and crops, but give good news to those who are patient and steadfast those who, when calamity befalls them, they say, truly we belong to God, and truly unto him we are in a state of return. We are returners. So you see here the sabirin, those who practice sabr, because sabr is not really patience, much more. Maybe one day we should study sabr. I'm always fascinated by this concept. So it's not tolerating. It is sabr comes when we know, we trust this is happening with meaning, with purpose, with wisdom, for a good outcome. So it's
Dr.
because
Yamina
is steadfastness and perseverance. The sabirin are those who are aware that they are returners to God. They are in a state of returning to God. What does it mean? It means, sorry, was there someone saying something?
I wanted to share something.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, in our January, I think, monthly meeting in the Diyanet Center, there was a metaphor about a loud noise coming from upstairs. So if we don't know what that is, could you, I don't know, then it's annoying, you know, I want to get work done and there's this horrible noise coming from upstairs. What is this? We don't know what this, and we become impatient. And this is one way of perceiving that. And the other is the same loud noises coming, but I know why that is, because they're preparing upstairs for me, that I'm going to move it upstairs, and they are you know,
nice apartment,
renovating that apartment for me. So all that loud bang is still there, but it doesn't annoy me the way, because I know why it's happening, and I know it's happening with wisdom, not because somebody's being inconsiderate or unattentive and so on. So that came to my mind as
yes, true. That's a good example. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, it changes totally how we relate to that noise. That noise becomes maybe good news. Yes, it doesn't mean that it's not disturbing. It doesn't mean that, oh, now noise is like music, although it could be, but it could be still disturbing, but like it makes me smile, it makes me look forward to what's coming after that. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Alhamdulillah.
And in case, you know, in case this may sound selfish in the example, it wasn't necessarily it's about me. It may be in some other good cause. It doesn't have to be my apartment, but some good cause that this noise is being made because they're expanding the road.
Good. Maybe it's not an apartment for me, but it's they are building a new orphanage.
Orphanage, yes, for the kids. A good cause that makes sense.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Yes, true. Yeah, this is an example of, yes, there is hardship in the world, and yes, the Quran talks about it, but actually how it relates to me depends on my perception of it. My perception starts with my self-perception. My self-perception is, it is not hard to accept my reality. It becomes hard when I'm stuck in a state of arrogance, when I don't want to let go of my false claims. The I made up things and doesn't want to let go of it. Subhanallah. But when I am in that state, then everything becomes hard and not easy. But when I let go and surrender, I accept the reality that this is who I am being sustained, I am being created. That's what it means. This is what abd is. Then everything starts changing from then on. It becomes easier to remember my reality and therefore the reality of everything being an ayat, and my certainty of everything being an ayah starts increasing. That's where my iman is made to increase, and we start living in the presence of God, and that's called ihsan. So we are eased onto the path of easiness. The path of easiness does not mean there is no illness in that path, but illness, even illness, is beautiful in that path. It is because even illness is an ayah from God, and it reflects the al-asma al-husna. You see, husna, ihsan, they're all related. نُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. And when we studied that surah, you can see that it is directly related to the position of the person, arrogance or humility in the sense of accepting the fact, the reality. It's not like making up something. It's the arrogant one that's making it up. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, because we need examples like that to remember what we know, but we need to remember it. Anyone else would like to share? I think it would be good to hear some feedback at this point before we close.
I guess this is Maha. Salam alaikum. I guess the arrogance is people who don't feel arrogant in their personal lives might miss on the point of arrogance that you mentioned, Yamina, that the rafla and the shirk might be caused by arrogance, because they don't identify themselves as arrogant in their personal lives and with their relationships with other people. So why would it occur to them that they are arrogant vis-a-vis God?
I'm not sure if Yamina heard you, because she's not hearing us with clarity on the phone. But yeah, but that, like, inshallah, she will hear it. But I've kept thinking about the same question about arrogance, because a lot of people who are doers, who help other people, who are used to, like, who don't see themselves as arrogant people, see that they are the helpers. They are the ones that will be like, seeing something happening, they feel like this compulsion to go and help. So they don't see themselves as arrogant. They see people who are arrogant, or people who might see the same situation but choose not to do anything about it. So for them, like, the concept of arrogance, at least in my head, was like, someone who's like preserving themselves, like, it's like the classical concept. I think that the challenge is to see arrogance is like, I can do it on my own. I'm the one who's going to be helping, and it's me helping. Salam alaikum. So I think arrogance then takes a different concept, and that's where I'm going to stop and defer it back to Isra and Yamina.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, we hear you now.
Yeah. So sorry, I was answering Maha, but I realized that I was muted without realizing. So Maha was saying, like, that is why we need divine guidance, because if I could know this and realize this on my own, there would be no need for divine guidance. So it is true that whether people are arrogant or not, they wouldn't know about this type of perceiving themselves unless we are taught it. And that's why we need guidance. So yeah. So I think it's normal not to expect people to think about it. What is amazing about the teaching of the Quran is that you cannot think about it, but when it is taught to us, it's so fitri, it's so reasonable, it just so makes sense. It's like, how didn't I think about this before? You could not, but it fits our fitra. It's totally complementary because it's coming from the same source. It's coming from our Rabb. The ayah that I just shared has also, so there is the fact that these people, they are aware that they are returners to God. That means that they are aware of the transience of the world. And remember, I always say, because it's something that always attracted my attention in the Quran, is that one cannot see things in the creation, events in the creation as ayat, if they are not aware of the transience of the world. Because the transience of the world is our daily reality. But why do we forget it totally? I mean, partially and momentarily, okay. But like totally spend years or months without keeping it taking it into consideration is a sign of the arrogance, in the sense of the I living in that little bubble of self-deception, in illusion, the illusory I, let's say. So here they are aware of the transience of the world, and they are aware that everything is proceeding from God and therefore returning to Him. If it's coming from Him, it's returning to Him. Therefore, everything is an ayah. Why? Because they know I am now coming from God. I don't know where this is coming from, my existence. And therefore, whoever is bringing me here will go back to Him. This, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, is worth spending days and weeks and months of reflection. If I can confirm, it means I make the shahada, I experience it and confirm it, then inshallah it will be I will start interacting with things as ayat at some level. And there is also the verb used at the beginning of the ayah, which is لَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, which we did encounter a few times before, which is we test, translated as we test. And we saw, remember, I just remember now, the purpose of creation in general was connected with the purpose of creation of human beings. So there will be an ayah starting with, we create this and this, لِنَبْلُوَنَكُمْ, in order to test you. And so human beings are created to fulfill their potentialities. And that's only possible to the extent that they are mindful of their true destination. The true destination is not in this world. It's not some transient passing goal. Those are goals. They are not true destinations. The true destination is akhirah. It's the eternal realm. It's our return unto God. These people are aware of their return unto God. And so when they are mindful of their true destination, they realize how much they need divine guidance and how much they need to surrender to that guidance. It means like you're hungry, you need the food, but food is given to you, you don't eat it. It means you are not really hungry. Here they are truly hungry of divine guidance. So when it is given to them, they surrender, they follow it, they live according to the divine will. That's what it means that they are eating the food, they are digesting the food. And that's the ahsanu amala, which is repeated in the Quran many times. Like we will see which one of you performs the best deeds. And remember the word bala or baliya is not usually we associate it with affliction and hardship, but in fact the word itself pertains to good and bad, and it is used in the Quran for good and bad as well. And the literal meaning is the word that it's translated as afflicting, but it has two implications. One is learning the state or condition of something and becoming acquainted with it, which means with what was unknown before. And it also implies the manifesting of the goodness or the badness. It's like, that's why it's translated as testing, because as the result of the test, you see if it is good or bad. And so in the Quran, we are told in Ayah 168 of Surah 7, we dispersed them in separate communities all over the earth. Some of them are righteous and some of them less so. We test them with good as well as with bad so that they might return. And again, return here is like in Surah al-Sajdah, that they might return to the right path. Remember, was it ayah 19 or 20, something like that? Like we give them hardships so that they may return back to us, to the right path. Because why? They need to return. If they don't return, they will be doomed. They will lose everything. So it is for our good that we are given hardship. So it says, وقطعناهم في الأرض أمما منهم الصالحون ومنهم دون ذلك وبلوناهم بالحسنات والسيئات. We test them, we give them bala. So the goodness is bala, wealth is bala, is a test, poverty is bala. What I do with it, my response to it, my attitude towards it, is what is bad or good. And here the bad and the good is outwardly we are created with, we like health and we dislike illness, we like abundance and we dislike poverty and scarcity. In that sense, لعلهم يرجعون. And in Surah Al-Anbiya 21, ayah 35, we are told, every soul is bound to taste death. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. وَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And we test you through the bad and the good by way of trial. Unto us you are coming back. And we are also told in another ayah, I don't remember the number, sorry, and I don't remember the whole ayah, but just came to my mind, where لِيُبْلِيَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْهُ بَلَاءً حَسَنًا. And so that God might test the mu'minin, the believers, with a beautiful, a goodly test. So there is a goodly, a nice, beautiful test as well, Bala and Hassan. So it is not the Bala itself, the hardship itself that is good or bad, or it's not the wealth itself that is good, it's not the illness or the poverty that is bad, but the consequence of how we deal with it, which are either good for us or bad for us in this world, and especially as far as the results in Akhirah, pertaining to Akhirah is concerned. So what makes the test good is not its content. It's not, it is wealth, it's good. It is poverty, or scarcity, it's bad. No. What I do with wealth and what I do with poverty, my response to it is what matters. Because our response is the result of our perception of the bala, what happens to us. Do we perceive it as an ayah from our Rabb, as created with purpose, with wisdom, with rahmah, and therefore, even if I can't figure out the meaning now, then I'm still open to be happily surprised. I'm still, at least it reminds me of how needy I am. It reminds me of how this world is passing, how this world is not, I was not created to, how do you say? This world is not cannot be my true future. At least it will remind me of all those beautiful, truthful realities. So it's nice. It's like the ayah. Remember once I said it could be like a post sign. The post sign may be rusted iron, old, doesn't look nice. It's not like a new, beautiful sign, but it doesn't matter. What it is showing the right way. So for the muhsin, it is showing the right way. The fact that the sign itself is not pretty is secondary. The fact that illness is uncomfortable becomes secondary. And people, like we know from the prophets and from the friends of God, the muhsins, that they started it didn't bother them, their illness, their poverty, or didn't, because they could totally, they were so in touch with the beautiful names, the beautiful messages in those situations. They were so aware and present with their Rabb that they forgot about whether they are wealthy or poor, whether they are healthy or not. That's secondary. So even if some events happens to us, or when we are in ghafla, it seems that things are just coming to me. Why are they coming to me? I don't like it. That's how it seems. The life is like darkness, and like it seems like things are haphazardly coming to me. When I like them, I don't say anything. I'm just like, all is good. But when I don't like what's coming up, like, where is this coming? Why is it as if it's hitting me? It's like befalling me suddenly, haphazardly. But that's not how the muhsin, the true mu'min, sees things, because everything is an ayah, everything is happening on purpose. So the bala for the muhsin leads to growth. It leads to getting more mindful of being abd. Abd meaning, again, I repeat what it means, totally dependent on our Creator's rububiyyah, on His sustaining us, on His care, on His rahmah, on His making us breathe and see and everything. And as we appreciate the Rububiyyah, we become more grateful to our Rabb and his Rububiyyah through hardship or ease, through health and illness. Then we become more grateful to our Rabb for his Rububiyyah, not for the health or for the illness. The illness and the health are ayat, means they are means. They are pointing, they are signs, they're pointing to meanings beyond. They are pointing to the beautiful names of God. Health points to the healer, Shafi, and sickness also points to Shafi. Actually, it points to it even more, because then we realize I really, really need Shafi. I really, really enjoy it. And I love it. My body, everything loves it. It is so part of me that I was not even aware of it. So I become even more aware of my connection to God being the healer. And so my gratitude is not for the means, but for the message I get through it, for my direct connection to God and with his beautiful names. But if we remain unaware of the purpose of creation, not only we struggle with hardship without purpose, seemingly just like it's happening like that, it just I happen to be the victim this time. And that in itself is irritating, it's annoying, it's difficult to digest. Why me? Why not someone else? Because it seems meaningless and unfair. And when things are good or seem good to me, I'm happy, then I may fall into the delusion of self-accomplishment or just ghafla, forgetting about where it came. Even if I say Alhamdulillah, but actually when I say Alhamdulillah, the gratitude, the joy I feel in my heart, in my body, doesn't go to God because I don't know him truly. It goes totally through to the blessing itself. And that's why I don't know him, because I don't know him as the giver of the blessing, because I am still stuck horizontally to the blessing. And that's why my gratitude, my happiness depends on the world outside. And anything is in the world out there is not as I like, I become unhappy. That's totally misperception, misinterpretation of reality, distortion. And it is the distortion of ghafla, of living in ghafla. And in that situation, whether we are in seemingly good condition or bad or in hardship, anyway, if there is, even if we have everything we want, there is the fear of losing it all. Or at least when we leave the world, because we don't know what will happen after death. So there is no true lasting future, and therefore no true lasting purpose, no true meaning of anything, no true grounding. Anything can happen anytime, because deep down, however powerful one may be, everyone knows that they have no control over life, no true control over life, not even over their own breathing or over their own life. So the point is how we perceive the bala, whether good or bad, and how we respond to it. As Sulaiman alayhi salam says, هذا من فضل ربي ليبلوني أشكر أم أكفر. This is all from my Rabb, my sustainer, to test me whether I'm grateful or ungrateful. That he summarized the test. This is what it is actually. Inshallah, I'll stop here. I won't start with ayah 25. was it 25 that we stopped at? Yeah, 23, 24, 25. And I would like you to, if you can, inshallah, for next week, reflect on today and also reflect on 27. We did talk about this in the monthly meetings in Lana, because there are so many ayats that have a similar message. In ayah 27 of this surah, we are told, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّا نَسُوقُ الْمَاءَ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الْجُرُزِ فَنَخْرُجُ بِهِ زَرْعًا تَأْكُلُ مِنْهُ أَنْعَامُهُمْ وَأَنْفُسُهُمْ أَفَلَا يُبْصِرُونَ. Haven't they seen that it is we, God, who drives the rain to barren land and thereby bring forth vegetation from which their cattle and they themselves eat? Do they not see? Now, the question is, we said in order to truly read this ayah, I have to go and do exactly what it is saying. It is saying, haven't they seen? And I ask myself, have I seen? It doesn't, I have not seen. What I see, usually, the first time I read this ayat, this is how it felt to me, because it felt like, what do you mean haven't seen? I haven't seen. How do I see it? I see water coming from the sky. And at school, they told us how it happens, and that's it. Where is God in all this? And at the end, again, it says, do they not see? So I had said, one of the rules is be honest. Don't just read, and this is 27, let's read 28 now. Oh yes, it's saying, it is God who drives the, okay. This is repetition, this is not reading. Reading means I have to apply this guidance into my life. When in my life have I seen that it is God who is sending the rain, and it is God who is bringing vegetation with that rain from the earth, and that vegetation that I eat? Unless I see it in my life and confirm it in my life, I am not reading this ayah. I have not confirmed the message of this ayah. I have not learned anything from this ayah. So let's be honest. And if you have already gone through the process of reading the ayat, you will say, yes, I have seen because I see this and this. If you haven't, then just be honest, then I don't see it. Because unless I see it, I cannot feel it. If it feels to me that the rain is coming on its own from the sky, and that without rain, there will be no vegetation. So the rain somehow is partly responsible for the vegetation, for my food, then if I'm being honest, where is God in all this? In some, far corners of my inner being, something must have started this. But that's not what this ayah is saying. So how do we feel is important. Do we feel that it is God who is sending now? And of course, we will know who God is, because you say, but who is God? When we start looking at things in a different way, then we will know whoever is sending it, that is God. It doesn't even say God, it says we, enna, that it is we who sent. That we, that he, will become clear, because as we start witnessing, seeing, things in a different way, then all our feelings start changing, because we start witnessing the beautiful names of God. Qualities are reflecting themselves in those processes. There is power, there is knowledge, there is mercy, there is wisdom, there is all those things. They belong to whoever is responsible for this process, so that he start becoming known to us. But not only known information, I'm Muslim, there must be God, the Quran said so. No, the Quran said so, and I went and followed. The Quran is the map. I took the map, used it, and found the treasure. And the treasures are the beautiful names of God. And I witness them and I feel them. And therefore now when it rains, I feel the awe, I feel the wisdom, I prostrate before that miracle. Remember, this surah is called prostration, and the true believers prostrate. So I leave it here, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Yamina. So inshallah we will reflect on verse 27 as our homework, and anything else that we are taking from today. Thank you. Jazakumullah khair. Since we mentioned monthly meetings, I wanted to remind that our next monthly meeting in Lanham, Maryland, Yanit Center, is going to be inshallah on March 22nd, Sunday at 9:30.
Yeah, and it's not a Saturday, but a Sunday.
It's a Sunday, yes. Yeah, inshallah, we hope to see you there if you're in the area. Join us for a day of workshop on beautiful names of God, inshallah. And in the meantime, inshallah, I don't know how to put this, Yamina, but inshallah, be in khair and peace and in health.
Inshallah.
Yes, through this, coronavirus in a situation, we are reminded, as Yamina, you were saying the other day, that how vulnerable we are, and and how much we take for granted our health and our capacity to go around in the world and breathe and get together with people. So inshallah we can reflect on that, and inshallah we can do our part in maintaining our health.
Actively praying.
Lots of vitamin C is recommended for immune system, and then zinc is good, and
your hands clean all the time.
Yeah, gargling with salt water is highly recommended a couple of times a day. That blocks the virus from taking root in the body. And do all of that until we meet personally in Lanham this
inshallah
next March. March 22nd, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you for the reminder.
Thank you so much. Jazakumullah khair, and may we see through in our lives with the blessings and the challenges. We see them as means for growth and gratitude, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.